Buffalo in the playoffs.
You know, if you're a Blue Jays fan, aren't you glad that the Leafs are coming? Because surely they won't upset you in the next 6 to 8 months. Now, will they? Welcome, everyone, to episode 2 of the Puckin Leafs Podcast. I'm Joe Choffs. I'm here with my partner in crime, Coach Frank, and we've also got Bobby Bottles joining us for this episode as well. We're so lucky to have him. Boys, how are we doing today on the, eve of the National Hockey League season commencing?
Full from turkey. It's starting to hit me now, so I'm trying to work off a little bit of the meat sweats, as they call it. But doing good, man. Hey, listen, before we start, I just want to say the responses and the feedback we've gotten on YouTube and to our Twitter and Instagram has been incredible. It's been a great start for us. We've only been one episode in, had some agreements, some disagreements, but that's what we want. And love the comments in terms of if you're looking for analytics, this is definitely the wrong pod for you. So and that's the way we liked it. So anyways, thanks guys, and we're hoping that we can deliver for episode 2 because we want to give you what you want, just straight out how we feel. And like I said, sometimes we're going to agree, sometimes we're going to disagree. Hopefully more disagree because that's always fun. But I just want to say thanks. So let's with that being said, let's get to it.
I disagree with you, Frank. I like analytics, but that's for another. I know, little inside joke with us because Bobby just went on a full rant on our Jays pod, going off on the analytics community and the analytics behind the decision to take Gossman out of that game. But Bobby, how are you doing over there? You look thrilled to be here, by the way.
I'm still in shock. Did that actually happen?
Oh, it did.
Oh,
it shouldn't be a surprise. As a Toronto sports fan, someone who grew up in Toronto, this should be no surprise at all.
Do you think the Leafs are happy? Because I mean that 8-1 blows 4-1 out of the water. Blows it completely out of the water.
See, I don't know, man.
No,
4-1 was in a game 7, and it was with 13 minutes left. Is that equivalent to 3 innings left?
Yeah, but hold on, Joe. What's the worst lead in hockey? You should know this.
It's a 2-goal lead. But for the Maple Leafs, it's a 3-goal lead.
I've never heard, wow, we've got a 7-run lead in baseball. It's the worst lead in sports. Seattle needed a touchdown.
Now. Seattle got it. Yeah. Geno Smith came into the game, threw a bomb to DK Metcalf, and they took the lead.
Oh.
Anyways, guys, we're almost set to begin the new Maple Leaf season, and a lot has transpired in the last 48 hours. So let's just bring you up to speed on that. So basically, the Leafs had to be cap compliant by today, Monday, October 10th. So on Sunday, they made a couple of moves. They finally signed Zach Aston Reese to a 1-year, $840,000 deal. This is the worst kept secret in training camp because everyone knew that they were going to sign him. To make move for that, they had to then place Adam Gaudette, Wayne Simmons, Kyle Clifford, and Victor Mete on waivers, all of whom cleared today. Now, the word is they're trying to do right by Simmons and find a trade partner for him, and the return is not important for the team. They just want to help him out to continue his career and not have to send him down to the Marlies. So they're trying to find a partner with him, a dance partner in a trade right now. Timothy Liljegren and Jamie Benn were placed on LTIR. And then Nick Robertson was sent down to the Marlies while Denis Malgin has made the team. Both did an amazing job, I'd say, in the preseason, deserved to make it. But with the cap being as tight as it is, one of those guys was waiver exempt, which is Robertson, and one of those guys wasn't. So they made the only logical choice in that. Robertson goes down, Malgin stays up with the big club, and will most likely be in the opening night lineup. Now, here's where it gets interesting. Right away, cap shenanigans. If John Tavares is not ready for opening night and he's not ready to go, the Leafs will actually have to dress only 19 players. They'll have to play a one-man short. After which, they can use the emergency recall for Thursday's home opener against Washington, in which case they'll most likely recall Nick Robertson. Apparently, the Maple Leafs have about $4 in cap space. I kid you not, $4. So if they ordered a Starbucks grande latte and put that on their cap sheet, they would be over the cap. They can't even squeeze that in. So I'll ask, thoughts on the moves thus far?
What can you say? Like, here's what I don't like. And maybe it's a perceptive thing. I don't know. Nick Robertson had a wonderful training camp. And you have to go to him and say, sorry, kid, because you're 21 and waiver exempt, we have to send you down. At some point, like, what's the message you're sending to the guy? He could have been, on all as he was the best forward next to Denis Malgin in training camp, but like, he couldn't do anything wrong and still couldn't make the team opening night. There's something to say about making the roster opening night, and it bothers me. It really does. It bothers me because they did all of that to make sure their fourth line was intact, but the guy who should have been in the lineup in the first place is not there. He'll probably be in the second game, but it's still, we don't know for sure. You know, the other thing too is you're hoping on a prayer with Malgin. Credit to him. Great training camp again, probably right up there with Robertson, 1A, 1B. What do you expect from this guy? He's a fringe NHLer. He went home to Switzerland for a couple of years, played in the Olympics, did well in the Olympics. They said he's changed his game, fine. But here's another guy, another smallish forward, coming back over to NHL, who all of a sudden is going to find his game and become a top 6 player on a should-be Stanley Cup contending team. I don't know, Joe. It's just, what's the old adage? You're throwing shit at the wall and hopefully something sticks. I don't know, man. For me, that's the wrong message sent to the team. I don't know. I think Robertson should be on the, in the lineup. I get it. They didn't want to lose Malgin on waivers, but come on, Joe. There's so many Denis Malgins out there.
I think, but I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
I don't think they think that he's just a fringe NHLer. I think they think he's more than that, which is why they traded for him. We don't know either. We'll see this year. They're going to give him a legit shot to play with good players, and we'll see. Yeah. And if it's just, there have been many preseason all-stars that have come for the Maple Leafs. Brendan Kozin, remember, he had a terrific preseason and then fizzled out once the season started. There's a long list of guys that have done this for the Maple Leafs. Maybe he joins that list. Maybe he turns out that he did change his game and is a much better player. They're going to give him that chance. I do agree with you, though. It sends a wrong message to a young kid who did everything possible to make the team, and through no fault of his own, doesn't make the team.
And that's
now, hopefully,
I get it.
I'm looking for they can squeeze him on there, but the cap is brutal. And I know there's a lot of people that say, "Oh, the Leafs are horrible at managing the cap." Listen, half the league is within like $100 of the cap. The cap has been flat for 3 years. Okay, it's not just the Maple Leafs. It's not just the Maple Leafs problem. Maybe it's a league problem. Maybe they should have put in some other clauses to alleviate what has happened with many of these teams. But they like it because it creates more parity, according to them. So I don't know. Bobby, you're awfully quiet down there. What are you thinking?
So I have a question. I have more question here.
Absolutely.
When you clear waivers, it means you're still on the team. Like you get sent down.
Yeah.
Okay. So so Nick's going down. My buddy Victor Mete, he's going to the Marlies now.
Yes, He is. He cleared. Yep.
Do you guys see him getting back to the Leafs at some point this season?
Probably.
He's what, their 8th defenseman, Frankie?
Yeah, he's number 8. They say that in order to get through a successful season, you should have up to 10 NHL caliber defensemen that could play because of injuries. So he would be number 8 on the depth chart, and then you're looking at guys like Kral, Hollowell, etc. So yeah, if there's injuries, that's the only way he's going to get up there. Now he's probably leapfrog Ben because Ben's he's on LTIR. So
And Liljegren's on LTIR. He'll be out
Yeah.
for another month or so. So if they were to sustain another injury right now, he's the next defenseman called up and in the lineup. So
correct.
It's a good kid. I want to see him up. I'd love to see him play with the Leafs.
it's always good to have hometown kids on the Maple Leafs.
I've actually had the pleasure of coaching him. Instructing him when he was at Pro Star Hockey School. So I've known him and his family since he was a novice, and came up through the ranks with the with the Kings and such. So great kid, great family. So yeah, it's I saw him play live against the game against Montreal. Great skater, absolutely great skater. But he's a hybrid. He's not a he's one of those fourth forward type defensemen, and gets bumped off the puck way too easily, and would be one of the reasons why he's bounced around within the division over the last year and a half, right? So
defensively very responsible though. Like just he's really like, I like him in zone. I like him in his D zone.
Well,
maybe in Pee Wee, but in the NHL, it doesn't seem like teams like him very much in that respect.
So, Joe, with saying that, let's look at the opening night roster, because we did this on our first episode. I gave you my projected roster.
Yep.
I wasn't that far off. I got to be honest with you. I wasn't far off because I honestly didn't think Engvall or Tavares would have played, but it's looking like they will. So obviously we got to make some changes. But I got to say another thing. Pontus Holmberg would have been in this lineup on my sheet if it wasn't for the Engvall injury. He had another good camp, and I'm going to get to Engvall in a minute, but let's look at the roster. So the first line stays intact, which is good. The second line, and we just touched on it. So Tavares seemingly is going to play center. Nylander is going to shift over to his off wing, which apparently he likes playing, which is fine because coming off the wing, probably a little easier to let the shot go. And then Denis Malgin is going to flank on the right side. So they've been Nylander. We talked about pairings. Nylander and Malgin seem to be a pair in training camp, so that's why I guess it's going to work out. I just want to know who the hell's getting the puck on that line, because they're probably going to be looking at each other and like, hey, listen, you going? Am I going? Tavares ain't going. We all know that. He'll be the
Doesn't
support
have the
guy.
foot speed for it. Yeah,
correct. So that's going to be one of my things where I'm looking at to say, you know what, Robertson would have went, but that's neither here nor there. So the third line, I'm very looking forward to this third line. This might be one of their best third lines in a long time. They're defensively responsible. They can put up the points that maybe was left off when Mikheyev left. So I think you can probably pick up some slack with Kerfoot moving down. This is a good spot for Kerfoot, I think. Kerfoot in the middle, in a more respectable spot, because I think he is perfectly suited now in a third line role. And I do like him in the middle on a third line with Engvall, who's not a centerman, on the left side, and then Järnkrok on the right. Järnkrok is Kerfoot light. Järnkrok is a Swiss Army knife. He can play center, he can play wing, he can play top six, he can play bottom six. I like this. And I'll tell you why, another reason why, Joe. You don't invest 4 years in a guy like Järnkrok if you think he has the ability to play more than one role. Järnkrok is your replacement for Kerfoot, because Kerfoot probably won't be back after this year. I believe he's an unrestricted free agent. So you already have your Kerfoot replacement for less than what you would have cost to keep Kerfoot moving forward. Okay?
That's a good point.
So I see that already. So pretty smart. And that fourth line, if you thought David Kampf was effective as a third line player, he's going to be a hell of a lot more effective as a fourth line player. So if he can give you 10, 12 goals playing from the third line on the fourth line, you now have Zach Aston-Reese and Obey Kubel on the other side, the Hyphen brothers on each side of the fourth line. Those guys are in the top 5 in hits per ice time last year. That is a different looking fourth line. It's speed, it's tenacity, it's finishing checks. They may add some offense. I don't know what you're going to get much out of if Obey Kubel is your most highly rated offensive guy in that line, but they're going to give you fits. So what does that tell me looking as a coach? There's a reason why Nick Robertson didn't make this team other than cap related. which ought to be the reason why Zach Aston Reese, they signed him to a contract. Did you really need Zach Aston Reese? Well, yeah, because they said our fourth line is going to have a
Identity.
Identity. Thank you. That is their identity. Sticking Nick Robertson on the fourth line makes 0 sense. 0. I'd rather him play in the Marlies, to be quite honest.
Absolutely. Yep.
Okay. You're not going to put him on the third line because that's your defensive shutdown line, and he probably would have got lost on that line. Your only spot for him is on that second line with Tavares and Nylander, which he will slot in at some point. I'll probably see a rotation with him and Malgin. But then you look at Denis Malgin. He can't play on the first line. He can't play on the third line because he's not a defensive shutdown guy. And again, he's going to waste away on the fourth line. So now you have two the same type of guys, but you take the guy who's not waiver exempt. So that's, again, it's starting to make more and more sense when you kind of look at the identities of each line. So,
yeah,
go ahead.
That fourth line, it's been known in the past. They didn't like their fourth line in the past. They like Spezza. They like Simmons, as guys, as people in the locker room, but they didn't like the lack of identity of that fourth line, especially when you compare it to a team like Tampa's fourth line, who they ended up in a best of 7 series with. I think this fourth line gives the team an identity. That Knack and Czar, I think, are tough guys to play against, and Kempf is a good shutdown centerman as well. So I think the forward group looks decent. I don't think they'll have an issue scoring goals because they have elite players, especially at the top in the top 6, and their power play should be decent as well. Yeah. I don't know if you noticed this in the few preseason games that I've watched when Mitch Marner was playing and they had a power play. Look for this. It seems like they have him setting up plays from behind the net a lot more. Mm-hmm. He's going below the goal line, and we talked about this, I think, before as a power play strategy where you're getting the defensemen to turn their backs to what's happening behind them. And then forwards like Austin Matthews can show up in the slot and get the puck. Look out for that, because I noticed that a little bit, that he was trying to set up those plays from there.
Tell you another thing I noticed with the power play in the preseason. If you watch the game against Detroit, Austin Matthews scored 2 goals. I think they weren't from the off wing. They were right bang in the middle.
The Kadri spot.
Right?
That is a Colorado Avalanche set play.
So hopefully that's something that they can capitalize on, giving a different look, as you said, from behind the net, but putting Austin Matthews, it's almost like the hidden ball trick. You see what's going on one side, and then you're not paying attention to what's going on the other, and they find Austin Matthews in a different spot. So I kind of like that, and I like Bunting. I like Bunting in that role too.
I have no doubt that will be successful at the beginning. But then teams watch tape.
Yes.
And they will start to take it away. Correct. What will happen then? And this is the problem what they have in the playoffs. Teams are so focused and can really game plan to their power play, and their power play has run into some problems into the playoffs when teams can really scheme against that. So they got to find multiple ways to score on the power play.
Yep.
Anyway, sorry to cut you off there.
No. Quickly looking at the defense. Joe, what's the definition of insanity?
Doing the same thing over and over again?
And expecting a different result.
Jake Muzzin and Justin Holl back together as a pair. Dear Lord, help us all. I'm at my wit's end with that. I'm sorry.
Hey, Sheldon Keefe said Justin Holl looked incredible last game. I don't know. I think that was the adjective he used to describe him. So,
yeah, I would say that too if I'm trying to move the guy. I'm sorry. I can't.
They're not trying to move him, Frankie.
I'm going to get to that.
2 right shot defensemen.
I'm going to get to that.
They ain't trying to move him. I'm telling you, they like him.
That pairing just, unless there was something wrong with Holl last year, now you have to play him with an aging, injured Muzzin. That's a lot to take on with Holl. I would have played him with Sandin because it would have the speed in terms of any giveaways or anything like that, because Sandin is trying to play the right side. He'll be in a safety net with Giordano, but I don't know, man. I would have flipped Holl with Giordano and Muzzin with Sandin, but that's just me. When Liljegren comes back, I guess that answers my question, because I probably see a 7-man rotation, because I think they're going to load manage Muzzin quite a bit. I think they're going to do it on purpose, and I think they have an agreement there. That's just my gut feeling. I want to talk about the goaltending. I really hope that they all give us what's the line for Major League, Rob? I hope we're going to give them all a big sandwich. A shit burger to eat.
Shit burger, yeah. That's the one.
I don't take any stock in preseason, or very little, but I just want to take away these numbers for a second. So the new goaltending tandem in the preseason, Matt Murray was 3-0 with a .970 save percentage. Ilya Samsonov was 1-1 with a .917. And they played quite a bit in the preseason. I'm not getting excited, but you have two goalies now with a chip on their shoulder. I like where this is going. Health needs to be it's the number one thing here.
Sounds like you're getting excited.
I'm not.
Bobby, I don't know.
I'm not getting excited.
What excitement sounds like, but Bobby, it sounds like he's getting excited.
I can hear it.
Not, but I did give you a prediction that they were going to finish top 10 in goaltending and bottom 10 in scoring. I don't know why. It's hard to replicate. I'm just telling you. Telling you.
Not. You're a little excited. You're a little excited.
A little bit. Yeah.
That was a little bit. That was my bold prediction. But
a little good fellas.
That's where I'm going. Lastly,
you insulted me a little bit there. A little bit.
Little tight. Justin Holl. Everybody says they want to move Justin Holl. I don't think he's the right target because I don't think he has the value. Kerfoot ain't the guy they're moving either because he's got the last year of 3.5 left on his deal. The guy that I'm surprised I don't hear more about trying to get moved is Pierre Engvall. The guy's making $2.25 million. From what I've seen in the training camp, are you telling me that they don't have a replacement for Pierre Engvall? Yes, they do. His name's Pontus Holmberg. If you're telling me you can't put Pontus Holmberg on a third line moving forward after this year, and you can't get something for Pierre Engvall or move $2 million off your roster, then Caldy was not doing his job properly. That is a movable piece because what he did in the playoffs last year, it's Halloween time. He played the Invisible Man. He didn't do a goddamn thing. So if you're telling me Pierre Engvall can't be moved ahead of Justin Holl or Kerfoot, then obviously we don't know what we're talking about.
Yeah, I think he's a piece that other teams would covet. He's cheap.
Right?
He could skate very well. He could kill penalties. And he flirted with like 20 goals last year.
Exactly. So why not move off the guy when you have a chance?
I wouldn't mind that move, yeah.
Exactly.
Do they have any prospects? We don't talk very much about this, but do they have any prospects that outside of Nick Robertson, who obviously we know about, but any of these guys drafted in the last few years that Sam Cosentino has compared
Matthew
to?
Matthew Nyes is their most highly touted prospect. I'd say he's still about a year or two away. He's just going into his sophomore year of college hockey. He looks really good. And then Alex Steves had a pretty good camp as well. He looks decent.
There's another guy. Yeah.
And then on defense, Topi Niemela, who was the World Juniors defenseman of the tournament last time around.
Yep.
He's still playing in Finland. He's probably still a couple years away. And Ronnie Hirvonen as well, another decent player. So their prospect pool, despite not picking
is decent
highly in the last couple of years and not having first round picks either, is actually pretty good.
I'd add how Rodin Amarov is going to get how his treatment goes. Now he's in Toronto, so he's actually with Toronto doctors now coming over. So he's going to probably be skating and getting soon. So hopefully there's something they can turn around there.
Frank, did they say he was in remission for that cancer that he had?
I think he took his last chemo. I don't want to I hope he is. I don't want to say for sure, but if he's starting to work out and stuff, I believe he might be.
Man, I hope that goes well for him. It just goes beyond hockey. As like a young man who's got his whole life ahead of him. Let's just hope the young man heals first, and then hockey comes.
I'll add one more name to that prospect pool. You guys are gonna like this one, Nick Mollenhauer. I can say it with a smile on my face.
That's right.
But that's a little teaser for everybody out there of what's coming. But
foreshadowing.
All
right, boys. So let's just skip.
Hold on, Joe. I couldn't help but notice no goaltenders named and all that.
You know what, Rob?
They have
Actually,
7 prospects.
Yeah,
They keep drafting them every year.
Yeah,
so
they're trying to hit on one of them. So
Playing lottery
and they
tickets.
just signed. Listen, they just signed the reigning Hobie Baker winner. I know he had a couple needles in his arm, but
Bobby,
with the
goaltending
steroid
is
scandal
voodoo.
there. But
Look at the Rangers. Shesterkin was like a 4th or 5th round pick. I think with goaltending, you should draft one goalie every draft season. And it's like throwing as many darts at the dartboard as possible. Eventually, one of them's got to hit.
and it's usually
Lottery
the one
tickets.
you don't expect.
Yeah, absolutely.
I agree. Lottery tickets.
Absolutely. All right. So the Leafs start the year with a tough schedule. It's 4 games and 6 nights. They start the season away at Montreal, and then they're home for 3 in a row. They've got Washington in a back-to-back, the second game of the back-to-back at home. It's their home opener. And then they've got Ottawa on Saturday night, followed by Arizona on Monday night, all at the Scotiabank Arena. So what do you guys think is a realistic expectation of the amount of points they should come out of this 4-game set here that they have to start the season?
Realistic. Well, fully expect them to beat Montreal. Going back to back at home against Washington, maybe pick up a point.
Samsonov against his former team.
At home too. I would have, if it was in Washington, I probably would have been, but I would say 3 or 4. Montreal, Washington. Going against Ottawa, they're a weird team. They don't play Ottawa as well as they think. So I can't. I could probably see them dropping that one, and then coming back to Arizona. I would say I'd be happy. I'd be happy with 7 of 10.
There's only 4. There's only 8.
Sorry, I thought you said 10.
Frankie.
Sorry,
Your math is a little off there.
Sorry, 5 of 8. 5 of 8. Sorry,
5 of 8. I think I'm really happy with 6 of 8, but I think I could deal with 5 of 8 because to start the year with 4 games and 6 nights is difficult. All 4 beatable teams, but the start of the year is kind of wonky. If they do lose to Ottawa on Saturday, I could already hear Sens fans, we're this is our year.
just lying in the weeds.
Hearing them all summer, which they've definitely made great improvements to the team, but I still think they're maybe a year away from actually contending for a playoff spot. So.
That defense and goaltending to me is just not good enough, but maybe they can outscore their problems.
Possible. All right, Frankie, to end it off here, you got a little segment for us, a Do You Believe segment. Yeah. So why don't you kick it off for us?
Okay.
Yeah.
Really, how this works is we put a question out there, we put a scenario out there, and it's really simple. If you believe, then it's yes, you believe it's going to happen, or you don't believe, there's no way, or you don't agree it's going to happen. So I'll give you an example. Here we go. Belief or not belief that heading into the playoffs, the winger that will play with Tavares and Nylander is actually not on the roster at this moment.
I do believe that they are going to look to acquire someone for that spot. I think they kind of regret not doing it last season and not going all in, but the season before that, when they went all in, the Nick Foligno trade deadline kind of messed up with their heads because it totally didn't work out and they gave up so much draft capital. I think they go for it a little bit more this year, and they do try to acquire someone that fits that role on that line a little bit better.
Okay.
I don't know who yet. We could throw out names like Patrick Kane, like that would be great, but not really realistic. So
I'd love to see Kane and Nylander together. Oh my God.
Can you squeeze him under the $4 cap?
Maybe he'll take a discount. Maybe he'll pay for a Tim's coffee instead of a Starbucks coffee.
Frank's getting excited again.
No.
You're getting a little excited.
We don't do numbers here, Rob. We only do the fantasy GM stuff like on NHL 23. When you can move those guys around. Yes, I will accept your trade.
That's Blue Jays. That's Blue Jays stuff right there.
You got one, Joe?
Yes. Do you believe that Sheldon Keefe will be nominated for the Jack Adams Trophy this season?
No, because usually they give it to the coach of a team who was awful last year.
No, I didn't say win. A nominated.
No, I know. I usually look at those type of teams. Nah. No, I don't believe. No, he had his window.
I think they usually nominate one really good team, like a President's Trophy winning team, one really crappy team the year before who's pretty good this year, and then one team you wouldn't think about as well. So I think he could fall under, like, if they're challenging for the President's Trophy, they're that good, he could potentially get a nomination, but we'll see.
All right. Belief or not, don't believe that there will be more than 4 Marlies that play for this team this year, 2 of which will be on the playoff roster.
I was going to say I believe 100% because 4 is actually not a big number. Last year they went through way more than 4. But 2 more Marlies on the playoff roster, I don't know, because does Matthew Nyes, he's not a Marlies
Doesn't
player,
count.
but because I could see them trying to sign him out of college after and then putting him on the playoff roster. But I'll say I don't believe then.
I like Alex Steeves. I think Alex Steeves makes this team at some point this year. Whether it's an injury or whether it's waivers or what have you, I think they really like this. He had a great year at the Marlies last year. He's a really good scorer. He can find himself on that 3rd and 4th line. So obviously him. I got Robertson probably there at some point. And I'm keeping my eye on Philip Kral. I really like that guy. He's going to be a really solid defenseman for them. So I'm going to say I'm going to believe my own. So,
well then. All right. And Bobby, you got any? He's just along for the ride, folks. He's just.
I'm comic relief tonight. I'm just
even that you're not doing a great job.
I'm trying to see if Kelsey will get a 4th touchdown. That's all I'm here for.
All right, last one. Do you believe that the Maple Leafs will break their own franchise record of 115 points in the regular season?
I think they win the division, but I don't think they break I don't think they maybe they just miss it, but I don't think they break it.
A lot of teams have gotten better below them, so that might bridge the gap.
You're asking a lot.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with that one as well. I don't believe in my own statement there. All right. Well, season starts in a couple days. I hope we tuned you up enough for it. Enjoy the opening game against the Habs on Wednesday and the home opener on Thursday against the Caps. We'll be back next week to recap the 4 games that were played and look ahead to the week ahead as well. So again, we appreciate all the feedback, all the comments, even the ones where you disagree with us. That's awesome. Please hit that like button, that subscribe button. That really helps us out a lot. We appreciate it. And take care, everyone. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching.